What's up, party people? It's your boy Jono. I spend most of my days either talking to real estate agents or talking to clients. And a common theme right now is buyer fatigue. You want to buy a house, let's just say, I don't know, hypothetically in the North Dallas area. And you're going out, you're looking at houses, you're putting offers in, you're putting strong offers in, but they're just not getting accepted. What do you do with that? That's incredibly frustrating and creates a real thing called buyer fatigue. I saw a meme on a real estate group that I'm on. The meme was an agent taking a selfie and she's holding a loaf of bread. And the caption said, after showing this family 27 houses, they decided home ownership wasn't for them and they decided to just throw in the towel. And they felt bad because she worked really hard and said, we made this loaf of bread for you. And she goes on to say how she follows a ketogenic diet and doesn't eat bread, and basically giving off this tone of, I showed you 27 houses and all I got was this lousy loaf of bread, which is kind of tacky, I'll admit. But the thing that I couldn't stop thinking about was I showed these buyers 27 houses. Like, I've never done that. And I think that there's a lot of agents that's their method. Their idea is, if we, and they don't say it this way, but if you think about it, by showing someone 27 houses, it's kind of akin to slinging a bunch of crap up against the wall and just hoping something sticks. And hope is not a great strategy in a market that's as competitive as ours. What I can't for the life of me understand is why more agents don't focus on eliminating competition. So how do you do that? Well, if you are a football team and you're playing your opponent and you show up for the big game and your opponent doesn't show up, you automatically win. And it's not just about beating the competition, but how do you eliminate the competition? What I see a lot of agents doing is there's a complete lack of preparation and planning that goes into their strategy. When I bring a client on board, I have a simple 3-step process. Number 1, pick your agent. Number 2, pick your lender. And number 3, then we start looking at houses, and it's got to happen in that order. Now, why do I push that so hard? Number 1, picking your agent makes a lot of sense, but if the way that I look at it is, I am a guide. And I'm really not here to make you feel good. I'm just here to explain to you how the market is behaving, give you the information that you need to arm yourself, and then what you choose to do with that information, that's up to you. And I can rest knowing I did my part. My job is not to convince you to buy a house. That's how I see it. My attitude is, pick your agent. And if you don't trust your guide, why would you work with that person? Maybe your nephew sells real estate and you want to give him a shot, and your nephew is calling the play, but you're not going to run the play he calls. Why is he representing you in the market? So if you're not going to listen to your guide, I think you got the wrong guide. Pick your agent, then pick your lender. Identify, based on the guidance from your agent, which lender is going to best serve you in the marketplace, because no two buyers are alike. Your financial makeup, your assets, your debt to income, your cash position, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And plus the tactics that your guide or your agent is going to employ need to kind of fit hand in glove with what the lender does. It needs to be a very intentional process if you want to win. Now, if you say, well, I want to hire my nephew who's my agent, good for you. Well, I want to hire my best friend from college, she does mortgages, good for you. But if those two parties aren't in concert, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And I don't want you to be disappointed. I want you to win the house. And that's the scope of this video, is how to win. So step 3, once you've picked your agent and then you've picked your lender, then we start looking at houses, and it's got to happen in that order. That's the way I see it. But once we're through the lending phase, which we won't deep dive into that. Then I like to get back together with my clients and prepare them for what we're about to face when we go into the market. Get our mindset right, get our strategy, have a plan of attack so that we're not just showing up and hoping something works, but we actually have a plan. So think about it in terms of sports. If we have a football team, our objective is to win the game. Well, how do you win the game? You put more points on the board than your opponent. Right? At a basic level, that's how you win. If neither team scores, you don't win. You don't just show up on game day and run out on the field and say, okay, you go this way and you go that way and one of you get open and I'll throw you the ball. Well, you can do that, but you're hoping that that's going to be effective. And if you're playing another team who has prepared, who has a plan, you're going to get stomped. And that's frustrating when you're putting a lot of effort, your hopes, where you're going to raise your family, where you're going to expand your family, the next several set of years, your future plans, your asset, all of that kind of gets wrapped up in the home that you buy. It's a big decision. And a lot of people, I don't see them planning this strategy. So hopefully if you're in the market and you're working with an agent, hopefully you're seeing a good bit of preparation and they're setting the expectation on what it's like once you get out there. So if our objective is to win the football game, if our competition doesn't show up, we win. Let's say we find a house and we're the only party putting a bid on it. I've got a project like that right now. We're buying 4 houses on the same piece of land and the property's been on the market for 4 months. Well, people immediately think, well, what's wrong with it? Well, nothing. The reason it's not selling is because it's got tenants in it and the tenants are under a lease. Most people, when they're buying a house, they want to buy the house and move into it. And they can't in this scenario because the tenants are under a lease and the landlord isn't willing to break it. And so he's selling it, but now he's only really able to market it to people that are interested in buying properties where there's already tenants in place. And when you look at the entire marketplace, that might be one little sliver over here. The homes, there's 4 of them, are appropriately priced. They've just been sitting there on the market and now the seller is frustrated. Well, how do I know the seller's frustrated? Because I spoke with him. Well, we'll get into that another time. So now we're under contract with this property substantially under the list price. My clients are getting a great deal. The seller is happy. Everybody's happy. Why doesn't this happen to everyone? In this particular scenario, my competition didn't show up. So I was able to get the property under contract, under the list price, and now both parties are ecstatic and we're about to head to the closing table. There's a lot of factors that go into how do you eliminate competition. Not just beat the competition, but eliminate them. And that all rests on the shoulders of the guide. If your guide can't tell you how to eliminate competition, man, you're kind of hoping you get lucky. And you know what? I hope you get lucky. I really do. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, but expecting a different result. And if you're constantly putting offers in on properties and they're not getting accepted, what are you changing? Are you being aggressive enough with your offer? And not just the price, but the other points of the offer. Are you leaving opportunity on the table? Are you treating it like you're the buyer and they're the seller and it's this competition? Or are you trying to come alongside the seller and to create a win-win for both parties? Because if you really think about it, the objectives of the seller and the buyer are really aligned. They have a house that they don't want and you have money that you don't want, so you have a trade. And so many agents look at it as this fight, like we're gonna beat the other guy so that we get a great deal and they get a terrible deal. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe I have a skewed view on it. Maybe it's because I wasn't classically trained on how to be an agent. So I would submit to you, if you're trying to buy a house, make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you go into it understanding your competition, understanding not only where you are you frustrated? How long have you been looking? What is your cash position? What are your financing options? Like your stats, but also the stats on the house. How long has it been on the market? If it's been on the market longer than 10 days, why is that? Sometimes it's because it's priced too high, but a lot of times it's because there are certain scenarios about the offering that the marketplace has decided we're not interested, and there's opportunity there. And then lastly, how can you eliminate your competition so now you have your job is infinitely easier if your competition doesn't even show up?